Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good afternoon now. I am Robert Kelly, and I'm so glad that you guys have come on out to join us for the beginning of our new series, Explore God. I'm one of the pastors here, and we created this series in concert with a bunch of other churches. And we're really excited about that because for the first time that we remember, at least as long as I have been, I guess, a decade and a half here on Long Island in church work, this is the first time that we remember about 25 churches all working together to do the same teaching series and using the same resources any time before on Long Island. It's happened in other parts of the country, of course, but this is the first time that we have been able to see it and participate in it in such a way as this kind of a series. The neat thing is, because of our experience, because of Beacon's experience with doing these big series and the promotion and all of that, we have been able to really support a lot of other churches to help reach a lot of other people. So all of the art and the promotion and the newspaper ads and postcards, and we've handled all of that. The website that we put up, Explore God LI, the links to the other website, creation of posters and signs and all that, we were able to give back as a gift to the broader church in Long Island. So that's really, really cool. A special thanks to Chris and to Trevor, who have been instrumental in helping this Explore God campaign work, not just for us, but for our larger network of churches as well. So very, very exciting. Of course, Chris heard that. Trevor didn't hear that because Trevor is not here today. So Trevor is actually up at Winterfest with the youth. So just say a prayer for Trevor, bless him, and hope he makes it back. And hope they make it back too, actually, I guess, since two of mine are up there. So anyway, this is going to be an exciting series. We hope that it's going to answer a lot of questions. It's going to be both a bit more philosophical and even intellectual in some ways because of the content that we're going to be covering. And we do have a lot to cover, so we will be moving pretty quick throughout a lot of these topics in this series. So just, we just ask for your focus and attention as we try to cover a great deal of information over the course of this series. And it also is really great for those who are questioning Christianity or want to know more about spirituality or learn a little bit more about the scriptures and why they're trustworthy and whether or not there's a God and all of those kinds of questions. This would be a great series to bring folks out to have some of their questions answered. Today we start off with, what is your purpose?
Why were we put here? I think everyone wants to know, why were we put here? Why are we on Earth?
My purpose in life is to live a normal life, to be a citizen, a productive citizen.
I don't fully know why I'm here, but I enjoy that. I enjoy knowing that because then that creates endless possibilities for myself.
Смысл в жизни, я думаю, что в жизни самой.
I believe it's random, to be honest. I don't think there's a plan. I think you make your own destiny.
Intentar pasar por la vida de la manera más desapercibida posible.
I would like to make a difference, even if it's only in one life. I'd prefer to do more.
Love, happiness, joy, yoga.
I think oftentimes you realize what the purpose was more by looking back than looking forward in my way. Some people plan ahead and know exactly what their life is, what their purpose in life is in their mind anyway.
I find direction in life by just meditating daily, just coming out here to the beach.
Whether it be spending time with friends or family or putting some gas in my boat so I can go fishing and catch a few fish, go home, have a fish fry. I live day by day, and I like to take it like that.
Society wants you to think that your life's purpose is all about work and making money and moving forward from that direction, but I think that's wrong, and I'm still trying to figure out what's right for me.
I'd say that because I think the meaning of life, in my opinion, is to find something that you're passionate about and use that passion to make the world around you a better place.
我相信每个人的生命中都有一个目标，而且那目标只能在神里面找得到。
I mean, I think everyone has a reason to live. Everyone offers something to this world, whether it be bad, whether it teaches people to be good, or whether they're good themselves. But I think everyone has a purpose on this planet.
It seems to me that not knowing your purpose in life amounts to a squandering of life at least. And if not that, it can be a recipe for disaster for most as they continue to pursue whatever seems to catch their attention at that particular season. And there's so many opinions. And even as you're listening to that video, you might be thinking to yourself, oh yeah, I agree with that one. Oh wait, that one sounds pretty good. Oh wait, no, I feel like maybe I don't like that one either. Or maybe you have your own ideas already. You've come to a solid understanding. It seems like you could break humanity up into a few different categories. Some, think of us each kind of doing our, finding purpose in our own way. I think there are some human creatures that find that it is easier to live life with no purpose. They just sort of meander through life with no purpose. They don't really think about it in that way. They just sort of just go. They just sort of meander, and that's it. They haven't thought about purpose in any real big concrete way or made any changes in their life based on that. They just experience life as it sort of happens to them. And a lot of folks like that, you could spot those creatures, but with the sort of confused look on their face. They're the ones that sort of look around like, what's happening here? Wait, how is life thrown? Could everyone just slow things down? They're often seen in their den, kind of huddled up in hibernation mode, watching TV or playing video games and thinking about going to Costco to get the bigger TV, but intimidated by the amount of work that would be and getting it up on the TV, on the wall. So they just sort of like, they sort of meander with no sort of purpose. Others, they run. They don't meander. They run through life, but also with no purpose. And you've seen these folks as well. You can usually see them because they're like frantically driving through parking lots, looking for a place to park, and they got to hurry up, and they're always hurrying. They're always arms are always waving like this, like madmen, and they're arguing with people or complaining about things or bickering about things, and it could be anything because it doesn't actually matter because they are running full steam ahead. They pop out of bed Monday morning, bright and early. They hit the day just to get right back on that wheel and run with the rest of the rats because they're not doing it for a reason. They're doing it because that's what they do. That's just what happens. They're not giving it any more thought than that. But there are a whole lot of other creatures, and I think this is where more of us fall. We're a little bit more introspective than that. We think that there is a purpose in life. We don't want to live as if there's no purpose, and so we experiment with a whole variety of different things to try to find purpose. And, we might experiment with all sorts of different things over the course of our lives. So it might be, your career or money or sex or stuff or relationships or philanthropy or whatever it might be for you. You're convinced that one of these things will give your life value, meaning, purpose. If it's career, you know what that's like. These people get spotted way up the corporate ladder. They're climbing. They're up in the nosebleed, of that whole arena. They're certain that they'll find it as they climb that ladder. Others say, no, for me, and I think a lot of us fall into this category. For us, we know it's family. We don't know what that means. We just say it like it's family. Obviously, the purpose of life is here for our family, right? And then we pursue that in whatever way we think it's right. So we say, oh, well, it's for the kids. The purpose is to set them up. That's why you can spot them on the soccer fields and, travel into all of the various away travel team kinds of things. Or, these are, not people that are pursuing their career because that's too crass for them. They know life is more important. It has to do with the people that share our DNA somehow. And so, the researching things for your kids and the prepping for tests and, it becomes a whole absorption with whatever it is that our family needs. For others, it's like, no, I don't want to be so deep. It's just about what makes me feel good. So, I'm going to pursue it through sex and any type of enjoyment. And you can find them prowling around from one conquest to the next. That's just the way they're going to explore what matters to them most. For others, they're like, no, that's too obvious, too vulgar. For me, it's relationships. And these folks can be seen, in these sort of ecstatic highs when they're all coupled up, or these heartbreaking lows when they're not, when they're facing another lonely Friday night. Now suddenly, the world goes up or down based upon their relationship status. Now sometimes a single creature can experiment with these sequentially, meaning this one I'll try, and I'll try this one when this one doesn't work, and this could take you much of your life until you figure out toward the end that nothing really has clicked. You can also pursue them simultaneously, try to figure out how to extract the most out of every one of these things and put together some sort of a mosaic that creates some sense of purpose for you. But I think all of these experiments with purpose and the inevitable dissatisfaction that we feel, I think it betrays what we most long for. What we most long for. And I think that most of us, if pushed on this, would say that what we're really pursuing, what our real purpose in life is, meaning not what I think, but what I do, is I pursue my happiness. I think that's what most of us do. I think it's mostly what we do every day. I think everything we do actually is a manifestation of our pursuit of our happiness. And so you could say that it's because we are pursuing our purpose in life is to pursue our happiness. Because that certainly seems to be the way that we actually live. So is our purpose to pursue happiness? Now, I know when I phrase it like that, it sounds very self-centered and shallow. And so you want to recoil from it. You want to say, no, that can't be me. Because that just sounds so, I'm more altruistic than that. I'm more sophisticated and nuanced. Maybe we are, maybe we're not. I think that's still yet to be determined, because what that pursuit means, what that longing is all about, has to be explored and unpacked a little bit, I think. See, think about, you guys heard about this guy this week, I guess maybe it was this week. It was a British guy. He had a goldfish that got sick. Did anybody read this story? Anyways, goldfish got sick, and he paid $465 to have surgery done on his goldfish. Who does that? Anyway, now, of course, you got to ask yourself, why would a guy pay $465 on his for a goldfish? And why would the doctor perform this? The doctor, by the way, the fish made it through, if you're wondering, in case you were nervous. He did make it through, and you could ask yourself, like, why either of them would do it. The doctor did say that the surgery was easy, but getting the anesthetic balance, anesthesia for a goldfish is apparently difficult to do. Why did both of them do what they did? I mean, isn't it because the decisions at each step of the way were decisions that they made that they felt like would make them most happy? I think it is. Why do you pick one career over another? One school over another school? Why did you pick that guy or that girl to spend your time in life with? Why? What's the motivating factor? What was behind it? In some way, you believed that that's what would make you most happy. You put your kids in a good school. You give them every sports opportunity, all sorts of learning activities, enrichment activities. Why? It's all just sacrifice on your part, really? So it's just, you actually are unhappy with those efforts. Doesn't really work that way, right? We do these things. We continue to pursue these. I mean, think about a student. All right, so it's a big test coming up. Why do you decide to study for that test? Even though you don't really want to study for the test, right? That's what you tell yourself. I don't want to really study, but I do. Why? Why is it that on days where you really should be studying, you decide to go out and party instead? Because in those moments, you've made a decision toward what end? Not thinking long-term, short-term, what goals, this, that. In those moments, you made a decision to try to, even the things that you decide that are painful for you, that are difficult for you, that don't seem like they'll make you happy, aren't they really just another way of pursuing a different type of happiness? Think of a cancer patient who says yes to chemo. Who would say yes to chemo? Who would possibly think that that would bring you any happiness? Well, the cancer patient with no other options. They're saying, yes, this is going to be horrible. Yes, I will be unhappy. Yes, I will not. This is not pursuing my happiness now, but it's pursuing a happiness or the hope for happiness later. More time with my family, more time with my kids, more time to put off death. Why did you come to church today? To feel better? Maybe you did it to draw closer to God. You want to feel better in some way. You want to be experienced. Maybe your wife dragged you to church today. Maybe that's why you're here. So you're like, yeah, I'm not happy to be here at all. But you're happier than if you had to fight your wife. And so you see it still works because you still made the decision based upon what would maximize your happiness. I don't think any single one of us take a single step left or right except to maximize our happiness, or at least what we think will maximize our happiness at those moments. Blaise Pascal, he said it like this: all men seek happiness. This is without exception. Whatever different means they employ, they all tend to this end. The cause of some going to war and of others avoiding it is the same desire in both, attended with different views. The will never takes the least step but to this object. This is the motive of every action of every man, even of those who hang themselves. Everything we do. Now, during this series, we're going to also be introducing you to some of the fantastic resources that are available on the exploregod.com website. So put together dozens, hundreds, thousands maybe of video vignettes and articles, all answering a whole multitude of different kinds of questions. Here's one about life's purpose.
Yes, please.
I feel like for the longest time, my purpose was to convince people that I'm good enough, convince people that I'm really talented, convince people that they should like me, convince people that if they make fun of me, I will punch them.
I think American culture teaches us to make it happen. I mean, if you're gonna be successful, you just gotta make it happen. So it's all about the strength of your inertia moving forward or higher. I think that's exhausting.
We all wonder about our place in life. You know, maybe it's because we're different, or maybe it's because we feel like we're the exact same as everybody else.
I think that our world is becoming more and more complex, and our lives are becoming more and more accelerated. I think we're all trying to find, as human beings, meaning in all of our technological devices and gadgets, how we spend our time. I mean, I'm amazed at how much time we Americans spend just watching television and screens. And this larger question of like, does this have any purpose? Like, what are we here for?
There was a famous little book written really short called Here is New York by E.B. White, and he said, what makes New York is three kinds of people. Number one, you get a person who's from New York. They are natives and they hardly even notice the city. You get locusts, they're people who basically live outside of the city but consume its resources. And then the last person is the person who moves here with personal ambition because they need a world stage for their perceived greatness to be realized. Los Angeles, for the most part, is about the veneer of beauty, but New York is about the pursuit of power. People they reroute their longing for God and they just channel it towards something else. They invest with holy religious zeal. The same things that Christians or religious people do into religion, they invest that into their careers or their relationships or their parenting or whatever else that is.
So they reroute their longing for God and channel it toward something else, even with a holy religious zeal. Isn't that really how most of us live? We're pursuing something, this longing we have. And I think the longing is actually the answer. I think the longing holds for us, the longing itself isn't bad. The desire to be happy isn't the problem. It's when it is rerouted, a longing meant for God, rerouted in so many very unhealthy, misguided ways. Because we know that so many of our pursuits of happiness don't ultimately work. I mean, why doesn't pursuing happiness work? I've spoken to just countless, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. And how many times will a person come out and say, you know, there's something wrong. There's something unsettled. It's just not right. I'm trying to keep busy and I'm doing these things. I'm even doing some good things and it's just not, something is missing. Something is missing. And I think for some, the pursuit of happiness doesn't work because they are more philosophical. And the specter of death hangs as the backdrop to their lives. And if you've stopped, you've thought about it, you've worked through this philosophically in your own world, this can be a very frustrating and draining reality for you. Samuel Beckett, he said that they give birth astride a grave. The light gleams on an instant, then it's night once more. So you're giving birth over a grave. And soon enough, that grave will swallow you up, swallow you whole. So how can life have any lasting meaning or value or purpose? We'll talk more about that next week. But if you're of the more philosophical sort, that might be one of the reasons why the pursuits of happiness don't work. For others, though, I think we're a little too busy to be philosophical. I think what we're doing is simply running from the one thing to the very next thing to the very next thing, and somehow in our own experience, we've also come to the same conclusion. Not philosophically, but experientially. We've come to the conclusion that the pursuit of happiness doesn't actually work. That often the harder we pursue, the more elusive it becomes. There was a French political analyst who over 100 years ago, he captured this idea of restlessness, and he said, there is something surprising in this strange unrest of so many happy men restless in the midst of abundance. Besides the good things that he possesses, he every instant fancies 1,000 others, that death will prevent him from trying if he does not try them soon. This thought fills him with anxiety, fear, and regret, and keeps his mind in ceaseless trepidation. So we run around this life in an almost blind and manic frenzy. Yet are we really happy? Are we really happy? Or are we continually seeking something to gnaw upon, hoping it will satisfy, but all the while becoming dead to the very things that would awaken our souls and satisfy our deeper longings? Any friends of or fans of Orwell, George Orwell? Here's a great reference to Orwell. Would you say life itself has purpose for all humans and all of us?
Yeah, I think life definitely does have purpose, and I think it has spiritual purpose. America is supposed to be one of the freest places in the world, and we're basically killing ourselves with our freedom. We've basically been told that the answer for the human heart is materialism, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that if we get more stuff, that this is going to make our lives happier. And if you look at modern life, that's not the case. We're more addicted to things than we've ever been. Our relationships, our primal relationships are falling apart. We don't know how to stay married. We don't know how to commit to one another. We don't know how to raise children in healthy ways. And so there's so much brokenness in our world that a simple materialistic answer doesn't seem to do the job. I read a quote once from George Orwell where he said he was having lunch and on his table there was a wasp and it was eating a little bit of jam, and as a cruel trick he cut the wasp in half and it didn't even notice. It just went on eating the jam, but then a little trickle of jam was coming out the back half of its body and it didn't realize what had happened until it tried to fly away. And I think that's a true metaphor for a lot of us. We're so just feasting on the pleasures of the world, but whenever we look for something transcendent, for meaning, truth, or beauty, that part of our heart and soul's been cut away by modern life and we can't access it. And so there's a tremendous longing behind the brokenness of all of the freedom society's given us that it's not really working, and so people hunger for spiritual meaning. Even though people say we're becoming more and more secular, there is an incurable thirst and spiritual longing that we see everywhere, from Oprah to Time magazine to an obsession with who the new Pope's going to be. God simply won't go away because our souls are created to know him.
Given a divine purpose. You've been created by God to glorify him, to glorify God. This is how the old theologians would have phrased your main purpose in life is to glorify God. Now we have to unpack that a little bit, because to glorify God means that we make his splendor and beauty known. We reveal it to the world. So through your life, God's love, his joy, his power, his majesty is seen by more and more people because you have glorified him. You've glorified him. Now, you're not making God more glorious. That's an important thing. He's as glorious as he's ever going to be. With or without us, he is perfectly glorious. But his radiance, his splendor, his majesty, it all shines forth in now what is a broken and dark world through you. Through you. And as it does, as you reflect, remember in the Garden of Eden, we were made in the image of God. We're made to reflect him. And when we image him to the world in our work and in our sacrifices and in our love and in our laughter, when we do all that, even in our sorrow and our heartache and all of that, when we reflect him, more and more people in the world see and experience his glory, his splendor, his majesty, his joy, all of that. And so we reflect that to a world that desperately needs to hear it. That is what our souls were made for. That's the purpose of both God and us, is to see his glory made manifest in all of the world. We lift the veil. We pierce the darkness with our lives such that others can experience the glory of God. Now, it is easy for us at that point. We get this idea in our head, and we haven't answered the question how to do that. You know, now you could go down any series of ways, methodologies, in order to make God's glory known. You could become a street preacher and stand on the corner and tell everyone, surely he's glorious. You know, you could serve him. You could fear him and say, you know, he's a powerful God. And if you all, you know, would understand, you see, now you have to figure out, all right, if my purpose is to glorify God, how do I do it? And now we begin to come full circle with where we started. And this is how it all ties in with the deeper longings of our soul. See, we are made for delight. We're made to pursue our happiness. So how do you glorify God? By enjoying him forever. By enjoying him forever. And what you have done when you enjoy God is you have declared to the world that he is the right and supreme focus of your existence. You have, in a way, flattered him with your affections and told of his great love and beauty and majesty to any who will hear, because of the delight that you now experience. He receives them. Now open up, if you would, to Psalm 16, verse 11. It's everywhere in the Bible. This is an idea from John Piper in a book called Christian Hedonism. And it's some great concepts. There's a short version of it called The Dangerous Duty of Delight, which has been one of the most transformative ideas in my own development as a Christ follower. In Psalm 16:11, he says, "You make known to me the path of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence, with eternal pleasures at your right hand." That means you have joy with God and eternal pleasures are handed out from him. That sounds like delight to me. Flip over to Psalm 37:4. And here is a command from God, Psalm 37:4. He says, "Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart." Take delight. How do you get the desires of your heart? Well, take delight in God and you'll find out. It is a command. It isn't. See, a lot of folks think that being a Christ follower, it'd be nice if you really had a great connection with God, and it'd be not. You have to do your obedience and all that. He's saying, no, this is your primary purpose. Delight yourself in God. Look at Psalm 43:4. Then I will go to the altar of God, to God, my joy and my delight. You can keep going. Psalm 90:14. Satisfy us in the morning with your unfailing love, that we may sing for joy and be glad all our days. Psalm 100, verse 2. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come before him with joyful song. You see, you can go on and on. You can find hundreds of references in the Bible. You can go throughout church history. You can look into the old history. You can look into the new guy. This is the center of the human soul. And this is why it's so radical, because pursuing pleasure in God is actually our highest calling. It's what you are supposed to do. And it's how you will find satisfaction for that longing. And it's the only thing that will produce lasting satisfaction. Everything else is a distraction from how you were actually made. And this is a radical implication for us, because now pursuing your delight, maximizing your happiness, lines up with God's purposes for you. This is where the two now can come into concert, and the most powerful motive in your life and the reason that you are here comes into line with why God created you and what his ultimate goal in this planet is: to glorify God by enjoying him forever. C.S. Lewis, he stated it like this. He said, indeed, if we consider the unblushing promises of reward and the staggering nature of the rewards promised in the Gospels, it would seem that our Lord finds our desires not too strong, but too weak. We are half-hearted creatures fooling around with drink and sex and ambition when infinite joy is offered to us, like an ignorant child who wants to go on making mud pies in a slum because he cannot imagine what is meant by the offer of a holiday at the sea. We are far too easily pleased. The pursuit of our desires, the delight of our heart, the happiness that we pursue, the reason that we are not finding it is because we're not pursuing it aggressively enough and in the right way, centered on God alone. It's not that we are pursuing our happiness too aggressively. We haven't begun to pursue it aggressively enough, ruthlessly enough. The scriptures say this over and over and over again, because God is most glorified in us when we are most satisfied in him. He will receive the utmost in glory when our hearts rest firmly and fully and delightedly in him with complete and utter satisfaction. That's our purpose. That's what we're doing here. And until we step into that in an increasing way, we will continue to wrestle against this uncertainty that weaves its way through our souls. This will also form the foundation of a lifetime of pursuit of God's greatness, one that can never be exhausted, and results in a life genuinely settled in the way that it was meant to be expended, used for God's glory. Would you guys pray with me? Lord, we're asking that you would help us to understand how this applies to our own circumstances each and every day. It's so easy for us to try to pursue things to make us happy that ultimately won't. Some good things, some not so good things. But in the end, they all disappoint. And I pray that you would help us to see what it means to walk with you, to delight ourselves in you fully, completely. Lord, you've told us that the great commandment is to love you with all of our heart, mind, soul, and strength. That's really what we're talking about. Help us to know what it means to love you with all of our heart, mind, soul, and strength. Each and every day, may we delight ourselves even more in you, and in that find our purpose. We pray it in Christ's name. Amen.